Jake Morrison guided his borrowed shuttle through the floating wreckage, his eyes scanning for any sign of his ship. 3 months had passed since he lost the Wayfarer. 3 long months of working odd jobs, saving credits, and tracking down salvage reports. The Battle of Kepler 442 had left this entire sector littered with debris, broken ships, and shattered dreams. His ship was somewhere in this mess. He checked his scanner again. The signal was weak but steady. Someone had activated the emergency beacon 2 weeks ago, then shut it off. Probably salvagers, Jake thought. They liked to mark their claims. But the Wayfarer was registered in his name. She was his, and he was taking her back. The shuttle moved past a destroyed cruiser, its hull torn open like paper. Jake had been lucky to escape the pirate attack 3 months ago. He remembered the panic, the alarms, the desperate sprint to the escape pod. He had watched through the pod's tiny window as his ship drifted away into the dark. He thought he would never see her again. Then the Wayfarer came into view. Jake felt his chest tighten. There she was. The old cargo hauler looked rough, scarred by weapons fire and scorched by explosions. But she was still in one piece. The docking lights were on. That was strange. The ship should have been dead, floating cold in space. Jake brought the shuttle alongside and connected to the main airlock. The seals held, which was a good sign. He put on his helmet and checked his oxygen. The ship might not have air anymore. When the airlock opened, Jake stepped inside carefully. Lights flickered on. The ship had power. Jake removed his helmet slowly, testing the air. It was breathable. Someone had restored life support. His hand moved to the pistol at his belt. Salvagers usually didn't bother with life support. They just grabbed what they could and left. He walked through the corridors, his boots echoing on the metal floor. Everything looked wrong. The cargo bay had been reorganized. Supplies were stacked neatly in one corner. Someone had been living here. Recent food containers sat on a makeshift table. A blanket was folded on a crate. Jake moved deeper into the ship, toward the crew quarters. The doors to his old cabin stood open. Inside, nothing had been touched. His coffee mug still sat on the desk where he left it, but the medical bay next door showed signs of use. Bandages, medical supplies, and tools lay scattered on the counter. He heard a sound. A soft breath, quick and frightened. Jake turned slowly. In the corner of the medical bay, partially hidden behind a supply cabinet, crouched a figure. Not human. The being was small, maybe 5 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Delicate features, large dark eyes, and strange markings that pulsed with soft light across her arms and neck. Jake recognized the species from his trading days. Velhari. They were peaceful people, known for their engineering skills. This one was female, wearing torn clothing that might have once been a uniform. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither moved. Then the alien woman made a sound, a sharp gasp of pure terror. Her eyes went wide, and the markings on her skin flared bright with fear. She scrambled backward, pressing herself against the wall, and her hands fumbled for something at her belt. A shimmer appeared in the air around her. Some kind of personal shield. Her chest heaved with panicked breaths, and she started speaking rapidly in her own language. The words tumbled out fast and desperate. Jake didn't understand them, but he understood the tone. She was terrified. "Hey, it's okay," Jake said softly, raising both hands to show they were empty. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't seem to hear him. Her whole body trembled, and she kept talking, her voice rising. The shield around her flickered and strengthened. She looked ready to bolt, but there was nowhere for her to go. She was trapped in the corner. Jake took a slow step back, giving her more space. "Easy. I'm the captain of this ship. Jake Morrison. This is my ship." At the word ship, she seemed to understand. Her eyes darted to the door, then back to him. She was calculating escape routes, Jake realized with a shock that she wasn't just scared. She was absolutely convinced he was going to hurt her. "I'm not going to hurt you," he repeated, speaking even more slowly. He took another step back, moving toward the door. "See? I'm leaving. You can stay here." The alien woman watched him with those huge eyes. Her markings still pulsed with fear, creating patterns across her blue skin. She said something else in her language, softer this time, but still frightened. Jake backed out of the medical bay and stopped in the corridor. His mind raced. An alien woman, alone on his abandoned ship, scared out of her mind. She must have been here for weeks, maybe months. She had fixed the ship, kept herself alive, and now she thought he was the threat. He needed to figure out how to communicate with her. The ship's computer had translation software. If he could get it working, maybe they could talk. Maybe she could tell him why she was so afraid. Jake walked to the bridge and sat down at his old chair. The console came to life at his touch. He pulled up the translation program and set it to Velhari. Then he activated the ship's intercom. "Can you hear me?" he asked. "I'm using the ship's speakers. I'm not going to come near you. I just want to talk." Silence filled the ship. Jake waited, watching the medical bay camera feed on his screen. The alien woman was still in the corner, but she had lowered her shield slightly. She was listening. "My name is Jake," he said again. "This is my ship, but you can stay. I'm not going to make you leave. I just want to understand. Why are you here? Are you hurt?" More silence. Then, through the speakers, came a small voice. The computer translated her words into English, spoken with a soft, melodic accent. "Please don't kill me." Jake felt his stomach drop. Kill her? What had happened to make her think that? "I won't," he promised. "I swear it. You're safe here." But even as he said the words, he could hear the fear in her breathing through the intercom. And Jake realized he had a long way to go before she would. Jake spent the first night in the cargo bay. He set up a sleeping area far from the medical bay, wanting to give the alien woman space. Through the intercom, he tried talking to her several times, but she only answered with short, frightened responses. By morning, he was no closer to understanding why she feared him so much. He made breakfast using the ship's small galley. The food stores were low, mostly emergency rations. Jake heated 2 meal packs, kept one, and carried the other to the medical bay. He set it outside the door and spoke into the intercom. "I left food for you. I'm going back to the cargo bay now." He waited in the corridor, watching through a wall panel camera. After 10 minutes, the medical bay door opened slightly. A blue hand reached out, grabbed the meal pack, and disappeared. The door sealed again. It was a start. Over the next 2 days, Jake established a routine. He worked on ship repairs during the day, fixed broken systems, and stayed away from the medical bay. Each mealtime, he left food outside her door. Each night, he slept in the cargo bay. And each day, he talked to her through the intercom, telling her about the repairs, asking simple questions. On the 3rd day, she finally answered with more than a few words. "Why are you doing this?" her translated voice asked through the speakers. Jake was in the engine room, his hands covered in grease. "Doing what?" "Staying away. Leaving food. Most humans would have taken the ship and forced me out." "Most humans aren't pirates," Jake said. "And you look like you've been through something bad. I'm not going to make it worse." Silence stretched for a long moment. Then she spoke again, her voice softer. "My name is Lyra." Jake smiled. "Nice to meet you, Lyra. Can you tell me what happened?" The story came out slowly, piece by piece. Lyra had been a passenger on a transport vessel, traveling to a space station for work. Pirates attacked. Human pirates. In the chaos, she made it to an escape pod, but the pod was damaged. It crashed on a nearby asteroid. She was badly hurt, her oxygen running low. "I saw your ship," Lyra said. floating near the asteroid. I used my suit thrusters to reach it. The airlock was damaged, but I managed to open it. I thought the ship was dead, but I am an engineer. I fixed the power systems. Then, life support. I have been here for 2 months. You've done amazing work, Jake said honestly. The ship is in better shape than when I left it. I had no choice. I would have died otherwise. Jake finished his work on the engine and wiped his hands. Lyra, I need to ask. Why are you so scared of me? I know pirates attacked you, but I'm not a pirate. I'm just a cargo hauler. Another long silence. Then Lyra said something that made Jake stop. You are human. That is enough. Jake frowned. What do you mean? Do you know what other species call your people? Lyra asked. Her voice carried a strange tone, something between fear and awe. The relentless ones. The species that does not stop. That does not give up. That heals from wounds that would kill anyone else. That's just biology, Jake said, confused. It is terrifying, Lyra replied. My people. The Velhari. We are fragile. A broken bone takes months to heal. A deep cut could kill us. But humans? I have seen records of human soldiers fighting with injuries that would have ended any of us. I have read reports of human ships that should have been destroyed, returning to base with half their crew dead and the other half refusing to quit. Jake walked to the bridge and sat down. Lyra, that's just survival instinct. Any species would do the same. No, Lyra said firmly. No, they would not. Most species know when they are beaten. They surrender. They retreat. They accept death. But humans keep going. Do you know what that looks like to a prey species? The word hit Jake like a physical blow. Prey species? Yes, Lyra said. Velhari evolved from herd animals. We survive by running, by hiding, by staying together. Most intelligent species in the galaxy are the same. We evolved as prey or as omnivores who avoided predators. But humans? You evolved as hunters. Pursuit predators. You would chase animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Your eyes face forward to track prey. Your body can run for hours without stopping. You can function on almost no sleep. And when you focus on something, you do not look away. Jake had never thought about it that way. You're saying we scare other species because we're predators? You scare us because you do not stop. Lyra corrected. When a human decides to do something, they do it. When a human wants to help, they help until the problem is solved. When a human wants to hurt, they hurt until the threat is gone. There is no middle ground, no giving up. Jake thought about the past 3 months. Working every day to save credits, tracking down every salvage report, following every lead. He had never considered giving up on finding his ship. Not once. I never thought of it as scary, he admitted. Because it is normal for you, Lyra said. But for me, watching you through the cameras these past days, seeing you work without rest, seeing you stay focused on repairs for hours, it is like watching something from a nightmare. A predator that never stops hunting. Even though I know, I think, I hope, you are not hunting me. The instinct is still there. My body still screams at me to run. Jake felt a weight settle on his chest. I don't want you to be afraid of me. I know, Lyra said quietly. And that is the strange part. You could have reclaimed your ship and forced me out. You have every right. But instead, you sleep in the cargo bay. You leave me food. You give me space. No other species would show such patience with a stranger who fears them. It is confusing. It's called being decent, Jake said. It is called being human. Lyra replied. And I am starting to understand that maybe the stories about your people are incomplete. They tell us about the relentless pursuit, the refusal to quit, the ability to endure pain. But they do not tell us about this, about the kindness that comes with it. Jake didn't know what to say. He sat on the bridge, looking at the stars outside, thinking about what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of species who saw him as a monster. Lyra, he finally said, I'm going to keep giving you space, but I hope someday you'll feel safe enough to sit in the same room with me. Not because I want you to stop being careful, but because I think we could be friends. Through the speakers, he heard a soft sound. It might have been a laugh, or maybe a sob. He couldn't tell. Maybe, Lyra said. In time. For now, thank you for the food. And thank you for not being the human from the stories. I'm trying, Jake said. I'm really trying. A week passed on the Wayfarer, and life settled into a careful rhythm. Jake worked on the ship during the day, and Lyra helped from the medical bay. She would guide him through repairs over the intercom, her knowledge of quantum systems far beyond his basic mechanical skills. They talked while they worked, and slowly, the fear in her voice began to fade. Jake learned about Velhar, her homeworld. She described cities that floated on massive crystal formations, held aloft by natural magnetic fields. She told him about her family, her parents who ran a small restaurant, and her brother who studied music. She had been traveling to a research station to work on experimental drive technology. When the pirates attacked, in return, Jake told her about Earth, about oceans and mountains, about his sister Beth who worked as a teacher, and about how he had bought the Wayfarer with money saved from 10 years of working on other people's ships. He had been so proud the day he became a captain, even if his ship was old and small. Do you miss your family? Lyra asked one afternoon. They were both working on the navigation systems, Jake at the bridge, and Lyra talking him through the repairs. Every day, Jake admitted. But space is where I belong. Beth understands. She says I'm too restless to stay on Earth. Relentless, Lyra said softly. Jake smiled. 2 words for the same thing, Lyra replied, but her tone was lighter now, almost playful. Progress came in small moments. One morning, Jake found a note stuck to his door. Written in shaky English letters, it said, "Thank you for breakfast. The coffee is good." Jake kept that note in his pocket for the rest of the day. Another time, he was working on a difficult repair in the engine room, cursing at a stubborn bolt. Over the intercom, he heard a sound he had never expected. Lyra was laughing. "What's funny?" Jake asked, surprised. "You have been fighting that bolt for 20 minutes, Lyra said. "You could use a plasma cutter. You could use a plasma cutter. That would damage the housing," Jake argued. "Then use lubricant and patience." "I've used lubricant, but not patience," Lyra said. "You are very human, Jake Morrison. You attack problems like they are enemies to be defeated." Jake stopped and actually laughed. "Okay, you got me. I'll be more patient." "That would be new," Lyra said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. The turning point came on the 8th day. Jake was in the water recycling room, checking the filtration systems. The ship had been making strange sounds, and he wanted to find the problem before it became serious. He traced the noise to a main pipe behind the primary tank. "Found it," Jake said into his handheld comm. "Looks like a stress fracture in the main water line. I'll need to shut down the system and replace this section." "Be careful," Lyra warned. "That pipe carries high pressure." I know. I've done this before." Jake shut down the system and began removing the damaged section. The work was awkward, requiring him to squeeze into a tight space between the tank and the wall. He was halfway through when he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. A sharp crack. The temporary support he had installed gave way. The massive water tank shifted, and the wall panel Jake was working behind collapsed inward. He tried to move, but his leg was pinned under a heavy piece of metal. Pain shot through his body. "Lyra!" Jake shouted into the comm. "I'm trapped. The tank support failed. Where are you?" Her voice came back immediately, high with panic. "Water recycling. I can't move. My leg is stuck." Through the pain, Jake heard running footsteps in the corridor. Fast, light steps. Then they stopped. He knew what was happening. Lyra had come to help, but now she was in the doorway, frozen. He couldn't see her from his position, but he could imagine her standing there, every instinct screaming at her to run away from the predator in distress. "Lyra," Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm despite the pain. "I need help. Please." Silence. Long, terrible silence. Jake wondered if she had left. He wouldn't blame her if she had. But then, he heard her voice, trembling but determined. "Tell me what to do." Relief flooded through him. "There's a hydraulic jack in the toolbox by the door. I need you to bring it here, and lift this panel off my leg." More silence. Then he heard footsteps approaching. Slow, cautious, but coming closer. Jake felt the air change as Lyra entered the cramped space. He turned his head and saw her for the first time up close. She was even smaller than he thought, delicate and ethereal. Her blue skin seemed to glow in the emergency lighting, and her markings pulsed rapidly with bright, fearful light. Her hands shook as she held the hydraulic jack. Her large eyes were fixed on him, wide and terrified. But she was here. She was helping. "Put the jack under the panel edge," Jake instructed. "Right there, yes. Now. Pump the handle." Lyra's hands fumbled with the jack, but she worked the handle. Slowly, the panel began to lift. The pressure on Jake's leg eased. When there was enough clearance, he pulled himself free and collapsed on the floor, gasping. "Are you okay?" Lyra asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jake looked at his leg. It was bruised and painful, but nothing was broken. "Yeah, I think so. Thank you. You saved me." Lyra stood frozen, staring at him. Her whole body trembled. Jake realized that being this close to him, seeing him injured and vulnerable, was probably overwhelming her instincts. He needed to give her an out. "Could you help me to the medical bay?" he asked. "I can walk, but I might need support." That gave her a purpose, a task to focus on. Lyra moved to his side, carefully helping him stand. She was stronger than she looked. Together, they limped out of the water recycling room and down the corridor. Jake leaned on her shoulder, feeling how tense she was, but she didn't pull away. In the medical bay, Lyra helped him onto the exam table. Her hands worked quickly, pulling out the medical scanner and running it over his leg. Jake watched her face as she read the results. The fear was still there, but something else too. Concentration. Purpose. "No broken bones," Lyra said. "But severe bruising. The tissue damage is significant." She looked up at him, and for the first time, their eyes met without fear between them. "For my people, this injury would take months to heal. For you? Couple weeks maybe," Jake said. "See?" Lyra said softly. "Relentless. Even your body refuses to give up." She prepared an injection of pain medication and anti-inflammatory drugs. Her hands had stopped shaking. As she administered the shot, Jake noticed the markings on her skin had changed. They still glowed, but the pattern was different now. Slower, steadier. "Your markings," Jake said. "They show your emotions?" "Yes," Lyra said. "All Velhari have them. Right now, they show fear, but also something else." "What?" "Gratitude," Lyra said. "And maybe a little bit of trust." Jake smiled. "That's good. Because I trust you too. You could have left me there." "No," Lyra said firmly. "I could not. You have shown me kindness when you did not have to. You gave me safety when I was alone. How could I abandon you? Because I'm a scary predator?" Jake offered with a weak smile. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she smiled back. It was small and uncertain, but real. "You are," she agreed. "But maybe that is not always a bad thing. Maybe sometimes the predator protects instead of hunts." She helped him lie back on the exam table. "Rest now." I will monitor the water system and make sure there are no more problems. Lyra, Jake said as she moved to leave. Thank you for coming when I called. I know it was hard. She stopped at the door and looked back at him. It was the easiest thing I have ever done, she said quietly. And the hardest. But you needed help. And somehow, that made it simple. After she left, Jake lay on the table, staring at the ceiling. His leg hurt, but he felt something else too. Hope. For the first time since he found Lyra, he believed they might actually figure this out, that fear and trust could exist together, and that sometimes the scariest thing about humans might also be the best thing. Jake's leg healed faster than Lyra expected. Within 3 days, he was walking normally again. Within a week, he was back to full repairs. Lyra watched with fascination and unease as the bruising faded, as his body simply fixed itself with speed that seemed impossible. They had fallen into a new normal. Lyra no longer hid in the medical bay. She worked alongside Jake now, though she still kept some distance between them. They shared meals in the galley, sitting at opposite ends of the small table. Progress was slow, but it was real. On the 15th day, everything changed. Jake was on the bridge, running a diagnostic on the long-range scanners, when an alert flashed on his screen. 3 ships had entered the debris field. Big ships. Their signatures were familiar, and Jake felt his stomach drop. Lyra, he called over the intercom. We have a problem. She appeared on the bridge within seconds. What is wrong? Jake pointed at the screen. Those ships. I recognize their signatures. They're the same pirates who attacked the Wayfarer 3 months ago. Lyra's markings flared bright with fear. She stared at the screen, her breathing quick and shallow. They are coming here? They're scanning the debris field, Jake said, watching the sensor readouts. Looking for salvage, if they detect our active systems. He trailed off as one of the pirate ships changed course. They found us. Any 90 was all we can doing. Lyra backed away from the screen. We have to run. We have to hide. The Wayfarer can't outrun them, Jake said. Our engines are still damaged. We'd never make it to a jump point. Then we surrender, Lyra said desperately. We give them what they want. Jake shook his head. These aren't the kind of pirates who take prisoners and leave. I barely escaped them last time. He pulled up. The weapons systems display. But the ship still has teeth. I've been fixing more than just life support. Lyra looked at the weapons panel, then at Jake. You are going to fight them? 3 ships against 1 damaged cargo hauler? I'm going to defend us, Jake corrected. There's a difference. There is no difference. Lyra's voice rose. Jake, please. You cannot win this. We should hide, or run, or anything but fight. Jake stood and moved to the weapons console. His hands flew over the controls, bringing systems online. Lyra, I need you to go to the engine room and prepare for evasive maneuvers. Can you do that? No, Lyra said. No, I will not help you die. Jake turned to face her. His expression was calm, but there was something in his eyes that made Lyra take a step back. Focus. Pure, predatory focus. I'm not going to die, Jake said quietly. But they're going to board us anyway. When they do, I need to know you'll be safe. So I'm asking you to trust me. Go to the engine room, seal yourself in, and keep the power running no matter what happens. Jake, please, Jake said. Trust me. Lyra stared at him. Every instinct told her to refuse, to run, to do anything but follow the predator into battle. But she had seen him injured and still moving. She had seen him work for hours without rest. She had seen him show her kindness when he had no reason to. And she realized that maybe, just maybe, humans didn't fail because they didn't know how. They simply refused to. Okay, Lyra whispered. I trust you. She ran to the engine room. As the door sealed behind her, She pulled up the camera feeds on a display panel. She had to watch. She had to see what happened when humans stopped being kind and started being dangerous. The first pirate ship docked at the main airlock. Jake watched from a hidden position in the corridor, his body pressed against the wall. He had sealed all the important sections of the ship and vented atmosphere in the docking area. He wore a breathing mask, but the pirates would have their suits, 6 figures boarded, humans, all of them. Jake recognized the leader, a man named Kyle Hendricks. He was the one who had ordered the attack on the Wayfarer 3 months ago. Kyle's voice crackled over the open comm channel. "Whoever's on this ship, you're done. Come out now, and we'll make it quick." Jake didn't answer. He moved through the maintenance shafts, silent and quick. The pirates spread out, searching. Jake had spent weeks learning every centimeter of this ship. He knew exactly where they would go, exactly how they would move. He had planned for this. The first pirate entered the cargo bay. Jake was already there, hidden above on the catwalk. He dropped down behind the man and struck quickly, a precise blow to the nerve cluster in the neck. The pirate collapsed. Jake dragged him into a storage closet and sealed it. 5 left. 2 pirates moved toward engineering. Jake sealed the corridor doors remotely, trapping them in a section with no oxygen. They had 15 minutes of air in their suits. Jake gave them 3 minutes, then vented the section. They retreated, but Jake had already moved to cut off their escape route. He dropped a cargo net from the ceiling, tangling them both, then sealed that section too. 3 left. Lyra watched through the cameras, her heart pounding. She had never seen anything like this. Jake moved like a shadow, like something that existed between heartbeats. The pirates were armed, trained, dangerous. But Jake was something else. He was patient, methodical, relentless. The remaining pirates regrouped near the airlock. Kyle was shouting into his comm. "Where are you? Come out and fight." "I am fighting," Jake's voice came over the ship's intercom. "You're just losing." Kyle fired his weapon at a speaker, destroying it. "I'll burn this ship down around you." "You won't," Jake said from another speaker. "Because you want the cargo. You want the ship. That's why you're here." Jake watched from his position in the ceiling maintenance shaft. 3 pirates, bunched together, angry and scared. Perfect. He had one chance. He dropped a canister through a vent shaft. It hit the floor and released a thick cloud of smoke. Not poisonous, just blinding. Jake dropped down behind them. The first pirate turned, and Jake was already moving. He disarmed the man with a twist and push, using the pirate's own momentum against him. The weapon clattered away. Jake struck again, precise and efficient. The pirate went down. The second pirate fired blindly into the smoke. Jake was already gone, moving around the edge of the cloud. He came up beside the shooter and kicked the weapon from his hands, then followed with a strike that sent the man stumbling into the wall. Another hit, and he was down. Kyle was alone now. He backed toward the airlock, his weapon raised. "Stay back." Jake stepped out of the smoke. His breathing was heavy, and Lyra could see through the camera that he was limping. His leg injury had opened up again. Blood soaked through his pants. But he didn't stop. He didn't slow down. "Leave," Jake said. "Take your men and go. This is your only warning." Kyle laughed, but there was fear in it. "You're injured. You can barely stand. And I'm still standing," Jake replied. "Can you say the same about your crew?" Kyle fired. The shot went wide, missing Jake by inches. Jake didn't flinch. He rushed forward, faster than Kyle expected. They collided, and the weapon went flying. They struggled. 2 humans, fighting for control. But Kyle was fresh, and Jake was injured. For a moment, Lyra thought Jake would lose. Kyle got him in a chokehold. Jake's face turned red. His movements slowed. And then, something changed. Jake's eyes focused. He drove his elbow backward into Kyle's ribs, once, twice, 3 times. Kyle's grip loosened. Jake twisted free and delivered a final strike that sent Kyle to the floor. Jake stood over him, breathing hard. Blood dripped from his reopened wound. I said, "Leave." Kyle looked up at him with pure fear. "What are you?" "Human," Jake said simply. "Now get off my ship." Kyle scrambled to his feet and ran to the airlock. Jake sealed it behind him and watched on the monitors as the pirate ships detached and fled into the debris field. Only when they were gone did he finally collapse against the wall. Lyra burst out of the engine room and ran to him. She found him in the corridor, sitting against the wall, his leg bleeding badly. His face was pale, but he smiled when he saw her. "See?" Jake said weakly. "Told you I wouldn't die. You stubborn, relentless, impossible human," Lyra said, her voice breaking. She knelt beside him and examined his leg. "You are bleeding badly. Why did you fight when you were already injured?" "Because you were here," Jake said. "And I wasn't going to let them hurt you." Lyra looked at him, and her markings shifted to a pattern Jake had never seen before. Soft, warm, steady. "Help me get you to medical bay," she said. "And Jake, thank you for being the scary kind of human. The kind that protects." Jake let her help him up. "Anytime," he said. "Anytime." Jake woke up in the medical bay, with Lyra sitting beside him. She had cleaned and bandaged his leg properly this time, and given him stronger medication for the pain. He felt groggy, but alive. The room was quiet, except for the steady hum of the ship's systems. "How long was I out?" Jake asked. 6 hours, Lyra said. She looked tired, her markings dim. "Your body needed rest. Even humans have limits." Jake tried to sit up, but she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Stay still. You lost blood. You need more time to heal." "The pirates are gone," Lyra assured him. "I have been monitoring sensors. They left the debris field completely. I think you scared them away for good." Jake relaxed back onto the table. "Good. That's good." They sat in silence for a while. Jake could tell Lyra wanted to say something, but she seemed to be searching for the words. Finally, she spoke. "I watched you fight," she said quietly. "Through the cameras, I saw everything." "And?" Jake asked, uncertain. "And I finally understand the stories," Lyra said. "The ones my people tell about humans. But I also understand why those stories are wrong." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" Lyra stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "The stories say humans are relentless, that you never stop, never give up, never quit, that you can survive injuries that would kill anyone else, that you are dangerous predators who should be feared." She turned back to him. "All of that is true. I saw it. You fought 6 pirates while injured. You won when you should have lost. You kept going when your body should have collapsed. It was terrifying to watch." But, Jake prompted. "But the stories leave out the most important part," Lyra said. "They do not explain why. Why do humans keep going? Why do they refuse to quit? The stories make it sound like you are monsters who cannot be stopped. But that is not true. You can be stopped. You just choose not to be." She moved closer to the table, and her markings glowed with warm, steady light. "You fought those pirates because I was here. You could have run. You could have saved yourself. But you chose to stay and protect me, a stranger, an alien who was terrified of you. You put yourself in danger for someone who gave you nothing in return." "You fixed my ship," Jake said. "You kept it running." "That's not nothing. It is not enough to risk your life," Lyra countered. "But you did it anyway, and that is what the stories miss. Humans are not relentless because they are cruel or mindless. They are relentless because they care. When you decide to help someone, you help until the problem is solved. When you decide to protect someone, you protect them, no matter the cost. You do not give up on people." Jake felt his throat tighten. "I don't think I'm that special." "That is because you are human," Lyra said. To you, this is normal. But to the rest of the galaxy, it is extraordinary. Do you know what my people would have done in your situation? What? Run, Lyra said simply. We would have run the moment we saw the pirates. We would have abandoned the ship, abandoned each other, and saved ourselves. Most species would do the same. Survival is the first law for nearly everyone in the galaxy. But not for humans. For humans, protecting others comes first. Even when it costs you. Even when it hurts. She sat down beside him again. These past weeks, I have been so afraid of you. I saw you as a predator. Something dangerous and unstoppable. And you are those things. But I missed what it meant. Yes, you are a predator. But you choose what you hunt. And you chose to hunt for solutions instead of victims. You chose to hunt for ways to help me instead of ways to use me. That is the part of humans the galaxy needs to understand. Maybe they're afraid we'll change, Jake said. That one day, humans will decide to hunt them. Maybe, Lyra agreed. But I do not think so. I think they are afraid of what it means to have humans as friends. Because if you care about someone, you will move worlds to help them. You will fight when the fight is impossible. You will keep going when everyone else has given up. That kind of loyalty, that kind of dedication, it is overwhelming. It means if you call a human friend, you have someone who will never abandon you. Who will run into danger to save you. Who will give everything and ask for nothing back. How does anyone handle that kind of friendship? Jake thought about his sister Beth. About the time she drove 14 hours through a snowstorm to be at his bedside when he was sick. About his old crew on the freighter who worked double shifts to cover for him when his father died. About every human friend who had ever shown him kindness without expecting anything in return. I guess we're just built that way, he said. Yes, Lyra said. And it is beautiful. And terrifying. And amazing. All at the same time, the ship's console beeped, indicating an incoming transmission. Lyra checked the screen. A rescue ship is responding to our distress beacon. They will be here in 2 days. Jake nodded. Good. We can finally get out of this debris field. He paused. What will you do? The rescue ship can take you to the nearest station. You can contact your family, get home. Lyra was quiet for a long moment. I could do that, she said. I could go home, back to Velhar, and tell my people I survived. I could return to my old life. But, Jake asked. But I have a different idea, Lyra said. Tell me. Lyra took a deep breath. I want to stay, on the Wayfarer, with you, as your engineer and crew member. Jake blinked in surprise. You want to stay? On my old cargo hauler? With a human who scares you? You do not scare me anymore, Lyra said. Or rather, you do. But I understand the fear now. It is not fear of danger. It is fear of how much I have come to trust you. In such a short time, you have shown me more kindness than I knew was possible. You gave me safety when I had none. You gave me space when I needed it. You protected me when pirates came. And through all of it, you never asked for anything in return. You never demanded gratitude or payment or service. You just helped because that is what you do. She smiled, and her markings pulsed with warm, happy light. I want to help you run this ship. I want to see the galaxy with someone who sees it the way you do. With hope. With determination. With the belief that problems can be solved if you just refuse to give up. And I want to tell other Velhari, other species, what humans are really like. Not the monsters from the stories, but the friends they could be. Jake felt tears forming in his eyes. You really want to stay? Even though I'm relentless and stubborn, and probably too optimistic for my own good? Especially because of those things, Lyra said. The galaxy needs more humans like you, and I want to be the one who helps them understand. Then welcome aboard, Jake said, holding out his hand. Official crew member of the Wayfarer. Fair warning though. The pay is terrible, and the ship breaks down constantly. Lyra took his hand carefully, feeling the warmth of human skin against her own. I have repaired this ship from nothing, she said. I can handle whatever breaks. And as for pay, you have already given me more than credits could buy. You gave me my life back, and you gave me hope. They shook hands, sealing the agreement. Jake laughed, then winced as pain shot through his leg. Okay. Definitely need more rest before I try moving again. Yes, you do, Lyra said firmly. Even relentless humans need to heal. I will monitor the ship while you rest, and when the rescue ship arrives, we will tell them that the Wayfarer has a crew again. A human captain and a Velhari engineer. Partners, Jake said. Partners, Lyra agreed. Though, I reserve the right to remind you when you are being too stubborn. Deal, Jake said. And I reserve the right to keep pushing forward even when you tell me to stop. That is extremely human of you, Lyra said, but she was smiling. I would expect nothing less. 2 days later, the rescue ship arrived. They provided medical supplies, fuel, and repair materials. The captain, a gruff human named Pete Collins, looked at Jake and Lyra with raised eyebrows. You two have been living together on this wreck for how long? 2 months for me, Lyra said. 3 weeks together. And you're staying on as crew? Pete asked her. Yes, Lyra said, glancing at Jake with affection. I am counting on it. 1 creases. Often sumding. 1 creases. Don't Tom Zevin sumding. I am counting on it. Pete laughed and shook his head. Well, good luck to you both. Try not to blow yourselves up. After the rescue ship left, Jake and Lyra stood on the bridge of the Wayfarer, looking at the stars. The ship was repaired, fueled, and ready to go. A real partnership was beginning, something neither of them had expected to find in an abandoned ship floating in a debris field. Where should we go first? Lyra asked. Jake pulled up the star charts. There's a trade station, 3 jumps from here. We could pick up cargo there. Start making some credits. That sounds practical, Lyra said. And boring. What do you really want to do? Jake grinned. There's a colony on the edge of explored space. They're looking for supply runners. The pay is good, but the route is dangerous. Pirates. Asteroid fields. Unstable jump points. Perfect, Lyra said. Dangerous enough to be interesting. Far enough that we can meet other species and show them what humans are really like. You sure about this? Jake asked. It's going to be hard work. Long hours. Constant repairs. I am very sure. Lyra said. Her markings glowed bright and steady. I have learned that the best things in life come from working with humans who refuse to give up. So let us go find impossible problems and solve them together. Jake set the course and engaged the engines. The Wayfarer moved out of the debris field and into open space. Behind them, the wreckage of the battle faded into darkness. Ahead, the stars waited, full of possibilities. Lyra? Jake said, as they approached their first jump point. Yes? Thank you for staying, for giving me a chance, for seeing past the scary parts. Thank you for showing me that scary and safe can be the same thing, Lyra replied. When the scary thing is on your side, the Wayfarer jumped to hyperspace, carrying a human captain and an alien engineer into the unknown. 2 unlikely friends, brought together by fear and choice, ready to show the galaxy that humans were more than the stories said. They were relentless. Yes, but they were also kind. And in a dangerous universe, that made all the difference.